Finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord, and in the power of His might. Be strong in the Lord, and in the power of His might. Put on the whole armor of God. Put on the whole armor of God, that ye may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. That ye may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. Wherefore take unto you the whole armor of God, that ye may be able to withstand in the evil day, and having done all, to stand. Stand therefore, having your loins girt about with truth, and having on the breastplate of righteousness, and your feet shod with the preparation of the gospel of peace. Above all, taking the shield of faith. Above all, taking the shield of faith, wherewith ye shall be able to quench all the fiery darts of the wicked. Above all, taking the shield of faith, wherewith ye shall be able to quench all the fiery darts of the wicked. And take the helmet of salvation, and the sword of the Spirit, which is the Word of God. The sword of the Spirit, which is the Word of God. Praying always. Praying always. Praying always. With all prayer and supplication in the Spirit. And watching therefore thereunto with all perseverance and supplication for all saints. Praying always with all prayer and supplication in the Spirit, and watching thereunto with all perseverance and supplication for all saints. I want you to notice that we are commanded to put on the whole armor of God for protection before we enter into warfare on our knees in prayer. I want you to notice that we are commanded to put on the whole armor of God for protection before we enter into warfare on our knees in prayer. For we place ourselves on the front line of the battle between God and Satan the moment we get on our knees. We place ourselves on the front line of the battle between God and Satan the moment we get on our knees. We must enter into warfare, beloved. We must enter into warfare, beloved. We dare not sit back any longer as the Church of Jesus Christ in hopelessness and unbelief and allow the devil to destroy this land of yours. We must enter into warfare, beloved. We dare not sit back any longer as the Church of Jesus Christ in hopelessness and unbelief and allow the devil to destroy this land. We have weapons, and the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty through God to the pulling down of strongholds. There is no stronghold the devil has that we cannot pull down through prayer. The weapons God has given us, we have weapons, God says. If we're daring to do what He longs for us to do, to enter into warfare on our knees in prayer. The weapons of our warfare, God says, are not carnal, they're not human weapons, but mighty through God to the pulling down of strongholds. He's speaking about pulling down the devil's strongholds. We can pull down the devil's strongholds, and God waits for us. He waits for us. I believe staggered that the only army America has that can save this country from what the devil wants to do to this country is the army of God on its knees in prayer. There is no army in this land though it might be the greatest military army in the world, that you could look to stop what the devil wants to do to America. Apart from the army of God on its knees in prayer, there is no hope for America. The only fear I have for America, the only fear I have for this land, is that the church of God won't get on its knees in time into warfare. Into warfare. God waits. Believe me, God is waiting for the church to get on its knees. I will therefore that men pray everywhere. Oh, that God says this. He's waiting. I want them to. I will therefore that men pray everywhere. Everywhere. I will therefore that men pray everywhere, lifting up holy hands, without wrath or doubting. There's always a condition attached to prayer being answered. There's always a condition for God answering prayer, beloved. Holy hands. Holy hands. Is the church able to be the army? Have they met the condition? Holy hands. I will therefore that men pray everywhere, lifting up holy hands without wrath or doubting. James says, let him ask in faith, nothing wavering. For he that wavers is like a wave of the sea, driven with the wind and tossed. For let not that man think that he shall receive anything of the Lord. A double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. Let not that man who doubts, who doesn't come in faith, let him ask in faith, nothing wavering. For he that wavereth is like a wave of the sea, driven with the wind and tossed. For let not that man think that he shall receive anything of the Lord. It's not just praying. There's coming without wrath, without wrong motives, without the wrong attitude to God, and a sensual motive like James 4 verse 1 tells us. Why God cannot answer our prayers? Without wrath and without doubting. Without doubting. A holy confidence in God. And that comes, beloved, through a life that is holy. Listen to these words. 1 John 3 verse 20. For if our heart condemn us, God is greater than our heart, and knoweth all things. Beloved, if our heart condemn us not, then have we confidence toward God. And whatsoever we ask, we receive of him, because we keep his commandments and do those things that are pleasing in his sight. There's always a condition to the promise. Can you pray without a condemned heart, beloved? If our heart condemn us, God is greater than our heart. 1 John 3 verse 20. Beloved, if our heart condemn us not, then have we confidence toward God. And whatsoever we ask, we receive of him, because we keep his commandments and do those things that are pleasing in his sight. The eyes of the Lord are over the righteous. His ears are open unto their prayers. But the face of the Lord is against them that do evil. The effectual, fervent prayer of a righteous man availeth much, accomplishes amazing things literally. God will do amazing things. The eyes of the Lord run to and fro throughout the whole earth, seeking to show himself strong in the behalf of them whose heart is perfect toward him. God is seeking. I sought for a man, God said, of a whole generation in a land about to be destroyed because of sin. I sought. The eyes of the Lord run to and fro, seeking. Is there someone whose heart is right? who can lift up holy hands. I sought for a man. I sought for a man among them that could make up the gap, stand in the gap before me for the land, that I don't have to allow the land to be destroyed in righteous judgment upon the land, that I don't have to let a land be destroyed because of her sin. I sought for a man. I sought. God is seeking. I want to ask America something. Does God say what he said of that generation as he's looking across America right now with what the devil seems to have the right to do? I found none, God says. God looked for something that he couldn't find. One man that had the right to pray, like Moses. Did you notice about Moses lifting up holy hands? When Moses' hands were held high in prayer, in his old age, the people of God were conquering the enemy. The enemy was retreating. But when Moses grew weary and his hands lowered, the enemy started making advance upon the people of God. Oh, they were victor. The enemy came victorious over the people of God. Now, people were watching Moses' hands falling down, and they saw the battle now being lost by the people of God. And what did they do? They, who were near him, overlooking the battle, took his arms and held them up in desperation. Oh, they held him up, and they watched. And suddenly, God's people began to have victory over the enemy. What was God teaching us? Nothing was meant for history. Nothing was meant for nice stories to tell children. Everything was meant to reach your heart. Every word weighed in the balance of the Old Testament, from Genesis 1 right through till the last verse. Don't doubt it. Beloved, God was saying to you and me, that man's hands weren't what was being answered as a prayer. They didn't look for someone else to lift up their hands. You know what they knew about Moses? This man is holy. It's his prayers that will save us. They were encouraging him to pray on. That's all. Encouraging him, praying on. I will therefore that men pray everywhere, God says, lifting up holy hands. Come now. There's a condition. It's not if someone else prayed that there would have been victory. Moses was holy. Moses was holy. And God sought for a man among them, and he found someone in Moses. He found someone in Moses. But he looked at a generation at some stage and said of the people of God and of their land, I found none. Is it possible? Is it possible that the church is in such a state? That God, who looks for a man whose heart is perfect toward him, that he can show himself strong in the behalf of, that he can do great things. You know, I found none. I sought for some. He wondered that there was no intercessor. Do you know what that means? God was staggered. The Bible actually said something staggered God. He was staggered that no one was praying while their land was being destroyed. He was staggered. Will the children of God sit back and allow their land to be destroyed in this land? That's what I'd like to ask America. War is war, beloved. It's not something for one night when the church decides let's do something. War is when you get down until the battle's won. And you don't withdraw from war until it's won. If you're any army that has any consequence on the enemy. We have weapons. The weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty through God to the pulling down of strongholds. I guarantee you, American Christians, I guarantee you that what the devil has taken 50 years to do in this land, in bringing demoralizing things, in undermining integrity and decency, in defiling your land,
so that your land faces judgment. I guarantee you that what the devil has taken 50 years to do, we could undo in a few days as the people of God on our knees in prayer. But do you honestly believe in that? Or is it just a statement that stirs you but won't motivate you into warfare? Will you wake up when your country is totally destroyed, America? I'm speaking to the Christians.